Welcome. Thanks everyone for joining us. We really appreciate you taking the time to be here this morning or afternoon or evening, wherever you're joining us from. We will be presenting this webinar on the topic, Unleashing the Power of Slack to Build Team Engagement. Again, we really appreciate your time. If you haven't already in the Zoom chat, let us know where you're joining us from. And then a couple things to note. One, this webinar is being recorded. So your camera and audio have been disabled for the duration of the webinar. So just go ahead and keep yourself on mute, keep your camera off for this time. And then another thing to note, if you are in our class, Crafting Synchronous Learning, we will be using the Slack channel for an activity. So go ahead and get logged into the Slack. The Slack channel will provide more specific instructions on that later, but go ahead as you have time, as we're getting started, to get that loaded. My name is Julie Ladmero. We are all students at University of Colorado, Denver. My name is Julie Ladmero. I work for an education technology company. I am going to pass it over to our other presenters to introduce themselves, and we are going to get started.
I'm on the East Coast, so good afternoon, everyone. My name is Joe DiDiego. I'm a learning experience designer at a financial technology company.
Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. My name is Andy Barnes, and I'm a middle school teacher in Denver, Colorado.
And hello, my name's Tori Beckwar. I'm a business English instructor in Italy, so I'm joining you from Italy. And I'm actually going to go over the agenda with you all. So today we're going to we'll go over the webinar objectives, and then we'll explain a bit about what is Slack, the Slackbot, and the workflow builder. Then we'll have a Kahoot icebreaker. Then we'll actually experience the Slackbot and the workflow. Then we will learn how to create the Slackbots and the workflows. And then we'll talk about how you can use them. We'll have a summary and then a final question and answer. So if you could save your questions to the end or put them in the chat, and then we'll answer all of them at the end. And our objectives for today, after this webinar, participants will be able to describe the collaborative tool Slack and its features, the Slackbot and the workflow. You'll be able to explain the importance of team engagement in a virtual environment, and you'll be able to create a custom workflow and Slackbot responses in Slack. So now I will pass it back to Andy.
All right, so to get us started, we're going to have a poll for everyone. So we want to know, on a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being the worst and 5 being the best, what is your comfort level with Slack? So in just a moment, a poll should be coming through. So if you could take a couple moments and answer that, that'd be great. Looks like we got a mix. We've got 1 5, 1 4, 1 3. We got some 2s. All right. Now, those that are comfortable with Slack, how are you currently using Slack in your life? If you could put that in the chat box, that'd be awesome. We'd love to hear your responses. All right, seeing a mix, so workplace. Obviously, if you're a student in this class, we use it quite a bit. So thank you for taking the time to take that poll. So now I'm actually going to get into just an overview of Slack. And so what exactly is Slack? It's a workplace communication tool in its simplest sense. It's a platform for messaging, tools, file sharing, and lots more. The two methods of Slack chatting are via the channels feature for group chats and through direct messages. Now, as far as the components, there's 4 main components of Slack. And so if we take a look at each of these little red arrows, this first one is pointing at what's called the Slack instance or the workplace name. The second one refers to the channels. So if you take a look at all the hashtags, you'll notice there's all the names right next to those for channels you're a part of. If we look at that third red arrow, you'll see the direct messages of people you've been talking with or suggestions for who you can speak with. And last but not least, we have, which takes up a large part of the Slack application, which is the chat window. So those are the main components of Slack. Now, today we're going to talk about two specific parts of Slack, and one being Slackbot and the other being the workflow builder. With Slackbot, it's important to note that this is only available to workspace administrators, but they are able to grant access to members. Now, what exactly is Slackbot? Well, some of the features include delivering reminders to you and your teammates via channels and direct messages, provides notifications when you mention someone or when you're mentioned in a channel you're not a part of. It allows you to do custom responses. And Joe and Tori will get to that in a little while with our activities we have planned in our tutorial. And again, where to find Slackbot? Slackbot will pop up in various places on Slack, but mainly through the channels and the DMs in your workspace. Now, the workflow builder is another key part of Slack that we're going to talk about today. And what it does is it allows users to automate routine functions by creating custom workflows. It can standardize requests from teammates, report outages, you can create welcome messages, and it has a step-by-step process that Tori will guide us through later on in the webinar. And it's also important to note that the workflow builder is only available on the paid plan. Now, I am going to turn it over to Julie to lead us through today's icebreaker involving Slack.
Thank you. So we are going to use Kahoot for this icebreaker activity. If you've never used Kahoot before, it's like a trivia game. So we're going to test our Slack knowledge. There's a couple ways that you can get logged into Slack. We're going to go ahead and put up the pin, and I also put the link to the website in the Zoom chat. So you can use it on your phone. I would definitely suggest that. It's usually a little bit easier unless you have like a second screen, but you can use the website that I linked in the chat, or in just a second, we'll have the QR code popped up. What you'll do, there we go. As soon as you have it pulled up, so again, you can use your phone, scan the QR code, or you can go to that website. But what you will do is provide your name. So you'll type in your name and it'll pop up there. So you can see that I joined. You will be able to see everybody's responses as we go. One thing about Kahoot, like I said, that's really fun. It's a trivia game, but it's very interactive. So what'll happen is a question will pop up. I'll read the question out loud just to make sure everybody can hear it. And then you'll be able to choose your answer. So what'll happen is there'll be 4 different answer choices. And if you're using your phone, it'll coincide with a specific color and shape. You'll click the one that you feel is the most appropriate answer. And then it gives everybody a certain amount of time. But if everybody has answered, it'll go ahead and show what the correct answer is. And then what's really fun about Kahoot is it'll show you kind of who's in the lead. You also get additional points for answering faster than others. So just a really fun activity, a great way to engage with you know, your team, a way to engage with students, a lot of different uses for Kahoot. So let's see, give everybody maybe another couple seconds to join. We maybe have, all right, here we go. So we're going to begin in 3, 2, 1. And I again will read the questions. So the first one, when did Slack launch to the public? When did Slack launch to the public? All right, so August of 2013 is when Slack launched to the public. Looks like 3 of us got it right. Awesome. Joni is in the lead. Question 2, where is the Slack headquarters located? We have Los Angeles, Dallas, Denver, or San Francisco. Where do we think the Slack headquarters is located? Couple more seconds. All right, here we go. San Francisco. Looks like everybody got that one right. I think that one was pretty easy. And third question, what are the benefits of Slackbot? So deliver reminders to you and your teammates in channels and DMs, send custom responses in your workplace, notify someone when you mention them in a Slack channel they're not a part of, or all of these are benefits of Slackbot. Benefits of Slackbot, and we'll definitely be talking about these as well as we go through our activity and kind of walk through how to use it. So it'll be really helpful there. Like we have 15 more seconds if you still haven't answered yet. Again, benefits of Slackbot. All right. Okay. So yes, all of these are benefits of Slackbot. Again, we'll talk about each of those or just, kind of talk about Slackbot and how it can be useful. And looks like Joni is still in the lead and has had 3 correct answers in a row. Awesome. So you can also do true or false questions with Kahoot. Slack once made a video commercial featuring animals. It cost them $1 million. True or false? $1 million. All right. So that was true. That is something that they made. You can look up that commercial. It's pretty funny. But yeah, true. And there we go. There's our leaderboard and our last question. Another true or false question. Workflows take care of routine and repetitive tasks so you can get answers, approvals and more with way less effort. True or false? True or false? Workflows take care of routine and repetitive tasks so you can get answers, approvals, and more with way less effort. Again, we'll be talking about workflows today. We'll kind of show you how to, get through them. Will be a part of our activity. So we're really excited to show these different tools. 3, 2, and 1. That is true. Awesome. So like I said, with Slack, you can see, who wins at the end. So I got 3rd place. And then tab and see who is our winner. Joni. Ready? Clap your hands for Joni. Awesome. So again, Kahoot's a really fun tool to utilize to kind of get your brains thinking, have some fun while you are doing some trivia. So yeah, thank you for participating in that icebreaker activity. I am going to pass it over to Joe to talk a little bit more about Slack.
Good morning again, everybody. Slack, welcome to the 3rd place. 3rd places are where people congregate other than work or home. England has pubs, America does too. France has cafes, Austria has their coffee houses. In the US, common 3rd places can be country stores, the post office, barber shops, hair salons. Today, we're suggesting that Slack, although it can be used for home and work, it could also serve as our virtual 3rd place. The term was first coined by urban sociologist Ray Oldenburg, who writes about the importance of informal public gathering places in his book, The Good Place, which came out in 1991. Oldenburg demonstrates how and why these places are essential to community and public life, arguing they are central to local democracy and community vitality. So there's 7 characteristics of a 3rd place. And again, today I'm suggesting that Slack can be our virtual 3rd place. The first characteristic is that they are neutral, meaning that all people can come and go without penalty in third places. Second, they are level, meaning that the status differences that matter so much elsewhere are not relevant here. Third, conversations are the main activity in third places, and the one way to offend people is to not be present. Fourth, third places are accessible, meaning that they have long hours and are easy to get to, no reservations are required, and they never close. Fifth, third places have regulars, just like cheers. Indeed, regulars define a third place, but new people are accepted. Sixth, third places are physically plain and unpretentious. Seventh, and perhaps most critically, the dominant mood of a third place is playfulness. So with that said, we're going to get into some games in Slack in just a moment. Third places contribute to a life worth living. They root us, they can give us an identity, they restore us, they allow us to be us. So before we move on, I'm just curious to know if you can add in the Zoom chat, what is your third place? Where's the place that you go to that's not work and is not home? Library is a great one. Meetup groups, local theater split. All these places are great places to exchange ideas and certainly serve as a third place. The neighborhood cafe, right? It's not just for Austria. Coffee shops, yeah. And social media. So similar to social media, again, we're making the suggestion today that Slack can be used as our virtual third place. So we'll go ahead and transition to the next item. All right, so I'm curious to know, we asked what everyone's comfort level was with Slack, and we got some 4s and 5s out of it. Andy previously just went over what Workflow Builder and what Slackbot was. So I'm curious to know, has anyone ever designed a workflow in Slack? So in just a moment, a poll will come up. You can respond yes or no to that. Have you ever designed a workflow in Slack? All right, looks like all the answers are perfect. No one has designed a workflow in Slack. That means you're in the right place. So not only are we going to learn how to design a workflow in Slack, but we're also going to participate in a workflow in Slack. So how can we use the Slackbot and Workflow Builder more creatively? We've come up with an idea to combine the two to create team building activities such as trivia and word games. We've created a unique channel to have these fun games, so everything is kept in the same thread. You can get really creative by making custom questions based on the people on your team, on your manager, on your professor. You can do trivia questions, or if you have more time, you can create an escape room. If you want to keep track of points, there are additional integrations you can add, or you can have a moderator keep track. So let's play some games. The people with access to our class Slack group can type answers directly into the thread in the Slackbot practice channel. All the other viewers, if you're not a part of our Slack channel, it's fine. You can type the answers directly into the Zoom chat and we will add them to the Slack thread. Or if you want to sit back and watch, that's okay too. All right, so in just a moment here, we'll be looking at Tori's Slack screen and we're going to play some games. Awesome. All right, here we are. So again, if you're part of the channel, you can respond directly into the Slack channel. If not, leave your response on the Zoom chat and we'll go ahead and transfer that over. Okay, Tori, are we ready? All right, welcome team one. Welcome team one. When you are ready to begin, we're going to react to the message that Tori just posted with the cowboy or cowgirl emoji. So let's just see if anyone's in there yet. Okay, Amy responded. So just a quick call out, Amy, you responded, but we need to be responded to as a reply, which then creates the thread that we can see here over on the right-hand side. So somebody got it right, awesome. So let's begin. So the first one is a Family Feud style game. So we asked everyone in the department what foods they dislike. Guess what the top 3 answers are by typing your guesses directly into this thread. You will only get a response if your answer is correct. So if you type in the wrong answer, nothing will be said there. So again, we asked some folks in the department what their least favorite foods were. We came out with the top 3. Amy, I said liver too. It wasn't that one, surprisingly. Again, if you have access to our Slack thread, you can type the answers directly in here. Mushrooms, Nova. I actually live in the mushroom capital, so I was a little offended that mushrooms are in the top 3 of most disliked food, but that's the 3rd most popular food people dislike. So we're looking for 2 more. Any meat product, coconut, Jello. Such a subjective category. All right. I would have thought liver was in the top 3. It's not there. Cilantro. So cilantro is the 2nd most popular response. And that's going to be worth 20 points. So keep guessing to get more points for 1st place. We're still looking for the final answer. So Kelly, it looks like you're responding in the Slackbot practice. You actually need to respond directly into this thread that we've started in order for the Slackbot to acknowledge you. Nova with anchovies. It's number 1. Another one of my favorite foods. It showed up on the most disliked food. But what are you going to do? Nova won. All right, you guessed the number 1 answer. So in order to continue, we'll need someone to react to that message with the fish emoji. So right where Slackbot says, congratulations, if someone can go to that message and respond with a fish emoji, that will trigger another workflow for us and some more games. All right, looks like someone added that fish emoji. Great. So that just triggered our next game, another Family Feud style game. So we asked the people in our department what their personal goals for 2022 were. Guess what the top 3 answers were? So again, we asked the people in our department what their personal goals for 2022 were. And guess what the top 3 answers were? Amy, Joni, lose weight, exercise. That's always in my my top 3. It never falls out. Surprisingly, not the top 3 answer here. These are all great personal goals. Surprisingly, just not in the top 3 of the people that we polled. Lose weight, extra. These are travel again. So just like the previous game we just played, if it's an incorrect answer, you won't get any kind of response. Once a correct response is placed in, it'll trigger a response from Slackbot. Okay, we're gonna need a hint, team. Is there anyone you want to spend time with or make more time for? So Slackbot and Workflow, you can get really creative with creating games. I'm going to call it out right now, as we're seeing in this game. The more elaborate your response, the more difficult it may be to capture from a respondent list. So the correct answer is actually more time with family. So if someone can type more time with family, it'll let Slackbot know that you know the right answer. But if you just type in family, it will not let Slackbot know. So just be mindful of that when you want to create some custom games. The more elaborate the response, the more difficult it may be for the participants to play. Beautiful. Thanks, Joni. That was the number 1 answer. More time with family. Thanks for my little spiel on, we kind of want to make the correct responses a little bit shorter so that the respondents are more likely to get them. All right, so just like our previous Slackbot challenges, in order to unlock the next one, we'll need to react to this message with a green square emoji to start the next question. Yep. So thank you, Molly. And it looks like someone else responded directly to that the question with the green emoji, with the green square emoji, which unlocked our next game. Wonderful. So America's favorite word game, Wordle. We've made it to the next question. So you can follow the link to the Wordle style game directly in Slack, or we've added it into the Zoom chat here. You can go ahead and open the Wordle style game. You'll have to figure out what the word is. It's a 5-letter word. The instructions for the game are also seen on the screen here. If you type in a letter and that letter does not, and it ends up being gray, the letter doesn't appear in the word. If the letter ends up being yellow, you have the right letter, but it's not in the right place. Or if you submit a letter and it's green, you have the correct letter in the correct position. So again, it's a Wordle style game, America's favorite word game. And once someone figures out the right answer, we'll be looking for you to type that correct 5-letter word directly into this Slack thread. So we're kind of modeling this like an escape room. In order to get to the next place, you'll have to, submit the right answer for the previous game. So again, we're looking for the correct 5-letter word out of this word style game to go ahead and unlock the next game in this workflow that we've built. This one's going to take just a moment. This is where we would typically play some Jeopardy theme music, so you can think about that in your head while you're working through this word game. We'll give it just a little bit longer to see if anyone can figure this one out. Nova with the correct answer. Hooray, that's correct. All right, Nova, you got the right answer. And in order to unlock the next challenge, we need to respond to the Slackbot with the sunny emoji. All right, thanks for whoever did that. All right, the next challenge. We have a picture word game. So you can either open the picture, it's in the Zoom chat, or you can see it right on your screen. And when you have figured out what the expression is, type it directly into the thread. You'll only receive a response if your answer is correct. No time like the Molly, you're a quick one. Or one smart cookie, as the Slackbot says. Great job. Now let's react to that message with a gift emoji to start the next round. All right, people are getting the hang of it here. Things are moving quick here to help build some team engagement. So similar to the last picture, we have a picture word game. What is this picture saying to us? Amy, you're on the right track. Kelly is also on the right track. Nova gets the gold star today. Congratulations. So that was our 5th game. So thank you everyone for playing. We just wanted to demonstrate for you how to play some games using Slackbot and Workflow. It's great to play games, but it's also more interesting, at least for me, to know how to create these. So for that, I'm going to pass it over to Tori.
Okay, thank you, Joe. So let's take a look at how to set all of that up. So we're going to just go over the first question. That was the Family Feud question. So we'll see how to set that one up. And in the chat, we're providing you with a handout that will go through all the steps that I'm about to show you. So you can either follow along with that, or you can keep that for your own reference. Okay, so the first step is to create a workflow. And again, the workflow is only on the paid plan. However, you don't need to be an administrator to access that. So everyone on a paid plan can access that. So you'll find that here in the upper left-hand corner, that's under the workspace name. So you'll click on that, and then you'll go down to Tools, and you'll go over to Workflow Builder. And that's going to open up another screen. I'm not sure, are you able to see the workflow builder screen? You can send an emoji. Okay, great. Okay, so you're going to create a new workflow and we're going to give that a name. So we'll call it Family Feud. Click next. Then you'll choose how the workflow is going to start. This could either be a shortcut that's in the channel. It could be a new channel member. So when anyone joins the channel, it starts automatically. Could be an emoji reaction or at a specific scheduled date and time. So we chose the emoji reaction. And okay, you're going to choose which channel it is. And then if you remember, we started with this face with the cowboy hat. So we'll do that again. And then you'll start adding your steps in here. You can choose either to send a message or send a form. The form could be multiple choice or short answer. So we did the message. And for this part, you need to decide where the message is going to. So it could either be to the channel that the reaction was used in, directly to the person who reacted, to the message thread, or to the person who sent the original message, or you could even have it sent to another channel or a specific person. So we chose the message thread, and that was because we imagined if you had various teams all in the same channel, you would want to keep those messages within the same thread. So everybody in the thread could read it. So our message text is going to be the question. This was we asked everyone in the department what foods they dislike, okay. If you need to add extra instructions, that's where you might want to include a button, continue, and then you'll add another step. So if you remember in the Wordle question, maybe not everyone has played Wordle, so we added some extra explanation about how to play that. But we're not going to do that for this one. Okay, we're going to save that. And then you'll publish it. So it's very simple. It's pretty much step by step. Okay, so let's go back to the Slack page. Okay, so the first part was the workflow. And now when someone answers the question correctly, that's where you get the automatic response, which is the Slackbot. And again, the Slackbot, you need administrative access to do that, but it's also available on the free plan. Okay, so again, go up to your workspace name. This time you'll go to administration, and then you'll customize your workspace. That's actually going to take you to another channel. Sorry, another page. Okay, so we'll go ahead and see this page. Okay, so we're in customize your workspace. And here you're going to choose the Slackbot tab. And then you'll add a new response. And this is where, when someone says, this is the answer to your question. So if you remember, the least favorite food was anchovy or anchovies. Here, it's important to remember to keep keep as many variations as possible, which is why it's probably better to choose a question that has a one-word answer or a very specific answer, so you don't have too many variations. And then when someone answers anchovies, here we're going to respond with something like, congratulations, you guessed the #1 answer for 30 points. And then we put the instructions to the next part, which was react to this message with the fish emoji. The thing to remember here is to keep all of this on the same line, because if you put things on different lines, then Slackbot will think these are different answers and it will just choose one at random. So we'll keep all that together. You'll save that and then you're done. So let's go back to Slack. And yeah, so hopefully that gives you some ideas. We basically did workflow, Slackbot, workflow, Slackbot. So you could have any endless combinations. So hopefully that will give you some ideas for your next team building activity. And now I'll pass it back to Joe.
Thank you, Tori. So now we'd like to know, how will you unleash the power of Slack? So in just a moment, we'll send a link to a community Google Jamboard. Once you open the link, you can use the sticky note feature, which is the fourth icon from the top on the left-hand side of the screen to post a note. It's where the giant arrow is pointing to. Your idea can be how to use Slack, Slackbot, and the workflow builder in a K through 12 setting, how you can unleash the power of Slack in higher education, how you could unleash the power of Slack in a corporate setting or in your personal life. So I'll send the link out now, and let's all take a minute to just really think through how you could apply the tool of Slack, Slackbot, and the workflow builder in any of these places. All right, so Julie, thank you for posting the Jamboard. We didn't know how many people were going to be joining us today, so I don't think we'll run out of space. But if we do, you can use the arrows at the top of the Google Jamboard to go to the next screen where you could leave an additional sticky note. So I'd love to see a response from everyone here. Just take a moment to think through, how you can unleash the power of Slack and use it in any of these settings, depending on where you currently, where your current world is, whether that's in K through 12, higher education, a corporate setting, or some of us do use Slack in our personal lives. So we made the suggestion that Slack can be used as our virtual third place, that place that's not work and it's not home. However, you can use Slack for meaningful home purposes and for work purposes as well. All right, so looks like we have some responses coming in here. So for K through 12, looks like everyone works in higher education, or the majority of it, or we have a split between higher education and the corporate setting. So it's just interesting to know where we support. So concepts for K through 12, pre-learning. So we could create some instructional material to add into Slack for students in K through 12 to go through, and then maybe come back to that in the classroom, kind of like a flipped classroom mentality. For higher education, quiz material being taught, quick assessments. We had mentioned it earlier, but there are some add-ons that are provided that can keep track of scoring. So that would work really well if you want to create quick assessments in Slack in the higher education field. Collaboration, just the basic exchange of ideas. Reminders for assignments, I can always use those. If an item's not on my Google Calendar, I'm not gonna make it. So any way we can automate reminders where we need to be, what we need to do, it's a beautiful thing. And then staying connected throughout the day, a playful start of the workday. I want to use this as a personal example. My team at work has a Slack channel, and there's not a lot of work that takes place on it. We use it as more of a third place. We exchange images of our weekend, memes. It's just a playful place to, as whoever posts that note, just say good morning to each other in a fun way. All right, in corporate America, we can engage, excuse me, not corporate America, corporate setting. We can engage employees during the onboarding experience. I think Tori was showing something in the workflow that the workflow would only respond when a new person joined the group. So it's like a really easy way to greet newcomers. So I could see that being leveraged for engaging employee onboarding. We can use it for training purposes. We can use it for office trivia, just like we did here. We can obviously grab any kind of trivia questions we want and build it in there, but it's always more personable to customize it based on if people are comfortable with it, the people in your setting, in your department, on your team, in your class. For personal life, connecting with family, I'm still trying to get my parents to figure out how to get into Slack, but once you overcome that challenge, you can certainly connect with family there. Similar to Discord, to talk about movies, games, etc. Absolutely, just a fun third place to go to exchange some ideas. And let me zoom in here. So making plans, coordinating actions, and an informal coalition for nonprofits. And I want to thank whoever left that note, because I didn't add nonprofits into one of the categories up here above. So next go around, we'll make sure that category is captured. I think I went through everything, and it looks like everyone had access to the Jamboard. So there's nothing in the chat. Beautiful. Okay, so we talked about Slack. We talked about the Slackbot, the workflow builder. We've played some games. We've learned how to build those games, and now you're all equipped with how you can go back and unleash the power of Slack. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Julie for our summary.
Thank you. Before we get started kind of into the summary, I'm going to send a link to our evaluation form. If you wouldn't mind really providing us some important feedback on this webinar once we do finish up. But the link I just shared in the chat, so please have that pulled up whenever you have time, fill out that feedback for us. Quickly, just going to kind of summarize what we talked about today. We learned a lot. We had a lot of fun with our activities. So we talked about a third place and how third place gives us an opportunity for additional engagement in a community environment where you can be yourself. So we had a lot of different, real life third places that we have: the park, the coffee shop, different areas there, and then also virtual ones. So Slack can be one of those virtual third places for you, for your coworkers, classmates, family, a lot of different opportunities with Slack. Because it does provide ways to connect and grow together as a team. And we saw that with Slackbot and Workflow, just having these additional tools to support your team, enhance the way you engage with one another. And as Tori showed us, there's a lot of different ways that we can do that. In the handout that we provided earlier, you can learn how to do that. Definitely a fun way to really engage and learn more about one another, and just engage with one another. So again, the evaluation form is linked in the chat if you can get that filled out for us. We are going to transition into some questions. So we would really appreciate if you have any questions for us, we can get those answered for you. Feel free to type your questions in the chat, or if you feel comfortable coming off mute and asking, feel free to do that as well. So I'll give everybody maybe a few minutes to kind of think of your questions, but we got some before. We got some questions before the webinar today. So we're just going to kind of talk over some of those again while you have time to formulate your own questions. The first question, I'm going to pass this one to Tori, but it says, is it difficult to set up a workflow? So she kind of talked us through that earlier, but just again, is it difficult?
No, obviously we use the workflow for a different purpose than was supposed to be what it was designed for. But as you can see, it's super easy. You just follow all the steps. You just can kind of mess around with it. But I think it's actually meant for like onboarding, or if there's a help desk, sending requests, having an automatic response, that kind of thing.
Awesome. And then our next question, does everyone have access to workflow?
Unfortunately, no. I mean, if your company has a paid plan, yes, then anybody can use it or create one. And that can be any paid plan. It doesn't have to be the most expensive one. But unfortunately, it has to be. I see how much are the paid plans. They can be very pricey. You have to pay per person per month, I think. So yeah, if you have a small group, I think it's okay, but generally it can be quite expensive.
So yeah, if you have, access to Slack, just kind of looking in, okay, do I have access to workflow or not? And then can anyone customize the Slackbot? That's another good question that we got.
So that one, Well, you could ask your administrator to grant you access just to the Slackbot. So there's a lot of things administrators can do, and it could be just the Slackbot. So technically, no, just administrators. But if you have a free account, you can do it. So I set up a free account for my students, and you can use the Slackbot because I'm the administrator. So yes.
Awesome. Thank you. Oh yeah, Amy, we answered your question, I think. Yeah, so, can kind of depend there, like Tori said. As we're kind of maybe thinking of some other questions, I'd love to hear from everyone, kind of visiting back to an earlier question that we had after one of the polls where we talked about, how you utilize Slack. Now that we've kind of gone over Slackbot and Workflow, we're asking you, how could you use this? I know we just talked about it in the Jamboard, just really reflecting again, you personally in your work environment. How do you see yourself using this? Maybe that can kind of pose a question. I work in a corporate setting. So one of the things that I wrote was for training purposes. And I think this is something that you went over, Tori, but just maybe a little bit more about kind of, or Joe or Andy, whoever, maybe how can we set the training up to, can it be more like synchronous, or is it very asynchronous? Can everybody be participating at once, or is it something that you can, have assigned to one person?
I can start on this. So it's a great question, and it's dependent on the size of your teams. For purpose of today, we had everyone within the same channel. There's only 10 of us. It's a nice group to just, we can go in and the responses won't be coming in so fast that you can't read what's going on. However, if you work, for example, I support a call center with over 2,000 learners. So I wouldn't want all 2,000 learners going into the same channel. So knowing who the audience is, we maybe take a step back and we'd have to create, multiple versions of the same channel so we can put each select group in, and maybe try to, mix people up that aren't from the same teams, maybe that support learners from different countries as well, so we can kind of intermingle everyone. Yeah, that would be my response to how I would set that up in my environment.
Nice, thank you. Yeah, I think that's great that you can kind of have it, to a larger audience like us today. We all kind of participated at once, but then also having the opportunity to really kind of designate to specific individuals. Awesome.
You also mentioned, we went through the practice today because we were on a webinar to have it a synchronous activity. It could also absolutely be an asynchronous activity where people can go into when time is beneficial to them. For example, the group that I'm working on right now, we're all in different time zones. So there may not be, or there may rarely be a time where we can all come together at the same time. So it can work well asynchronously, even if you're not the one responding to the question. You'll be able to see the other person's response. So you have this virtual social learning taking place in an asynchronous setting.
Awesome, thank you. Let's see. Something else I kind of thought of. So Tori, I know, when you were building out everything, one of the activities, or I guess two of the activities in our game was linking to the Wordle activity, as well as linking to those different images. How difficult is that to either, link those in, to embed those? Is that something that was pretty simple?
Thanks for your question. Well, it's basically, I was trying to choose questions that you couldn't just Google the answer in 2 seconds, so needed a little bit of thought, or like the picture, the catchphrase ones, those you can't really just Google that. The thing is, it's mostly in the workflow. There's the text and it gives you kind of the like preview of the photo, but you can't actually embed. So you can link out, but unfortunately, at least I haven't figured it out. Maybe there's a way, but it's not, it wasn't possible to embed stuff in there.
Gotcha. Thank you. Yeah. Well, I think that's really cool to be able to just, link those in, kind of bring you to other activities outside. It really does kind of help with that engagement, adding um, other games outside of that. So I thought that was really helpful. Um, Anything else? Anybody want to come off mute? Feel free to ask away really about anything that we covered, or maybe something related to Slack that maybe we didn't touch on that you were wondering.
I guess one thing I was going to suggest is if you wanted to do an escape room, for example, have something that was a longer amount of time, half an hour, 1 hour, you could, link out and have your team work on the escape room questions, and then they would put the answer back into the chat. And that's when the Slack bot would say if they were correct or not. So you could make this a much longer activity as well.
Yeah, that's really cool.
My closing thought was, we talked about Slack today, which everyone on the call is somewhat familiar with. Slackbot and Workflow may be new concepts, but this is just the tip of the iceberg of add-ins that are available within Slack. So even if you don't find a use case, or you don't have a reason to leverage Slackbot and Workflow Builder now, maybe that turns on the light bulb for you that there's a bunch of add-ons, even a little Giphy maker where you can type in a word and it'll automatically post a GIF. So some really fun add-ons that are available there. So we just hit the tip of the iceberg today with what's possible within Slack.
Definitely. Yeah, I think just based on the Jamboard, we had so many different ideas there. I think there's a lot to explore. So again, thank you for joining us today. You have that handout. Again, please complete that evaluation form for us. We'd love to hear your feedback. On the last page of the handout that we provided, there are some resources there, some different links to like a Slack guide, setting up workflow. So just additional resources on that handout. And there is also our different email addresses. So feel free to send us an email, get in contact with us if you do have additional questions about anything that we covered today. We're happy to help with that. And again, we really appreciate everyone joining us. I'll let my presenters just kind of, maybe say their thanks too, and then I'll wrap up for us.
I don't want to keep anyone too long. It's Saturday. So thank you for joining us on this Saturday morning. I wish everybody has a great weekend.
Yeah, thank you very much for joining us today.
Absolutely. Happy Saturday, everyone. Take care. Thank you again for joining.
All right. Thanks again. Have a great weekend. We really appreciate your time.